Welcome, everybody. We are in a brave new world, to quote a phrase. Today, we're going to talk about my 5 favorite scripts. When this was originally set up, it was going to be in the Market Center. This is the first time I've ever done a class from my living room. So we're going to move forward with it and do the best we can and share some great ideas today, which hopefully you'll all find helpful. And we're going to record this so you can watch it back at any time. First thing I want to do is give you a little tip on Zoom. I don't know if you knew this or not. If you see the name squares, normally where your picture goes, right now it has your name in it if you're on the live stream. Down on the bottom right, you'll see my name. It says Joe Corcoran, Lehigh Valley, PA. It's helpful if you're going to be on Zoom calls with people. You can right-click down in that corner and then rename. So you can put your name, where you're from down there. So when you're on a Zoom call, people know who you are and where you're coming from, even when your picture's up like mine is now. So first tip, not a script, definitely not a script, but it is a little help if you're going to be on some Zoom calls. Okay, so I want to pop up my screen here. Some of these scripts are very complex. They're very tricky. And, you're going to need to, probably reams and reams of paper to write these down. It's not that difficult. So these are my 5 favorite scripts. This is what I'm calling the COVID-19 edition. And if you want a little fun, everybody remember the song Come On Eileen, right? Next time you hear it, just sing COVID-19 instead of Come On Eileen, and it makes the song a little more bearable because everybody's tired of hearing that song by now, pretty much. Okay, so the first script I'm going to give you, well, first of all, I wanted to share an idea with you. This is a kind of a different time, different methods. We're going to need to do different things in order to do our jobs. And my coach yesterday, I had my coaching call yesterday at about 5:30, and my coach told me something that really kind of hit home. He said, "Is this the turning point for how we do real estate? Is this the technology change kind of fast forwarded, that the agents who can't do technology cannot survive anymore?" And it very well could be, depending on how long this lasts. You might not make it through the business if you don't brush up on things like your scripts and your use of technology and getting comfortable with maybe getting on Zoom and doing a listing presentation. We all have, as part of our KW accounts through Google, we all can do a Google call, a Google video call for up to 45 minutes. So maybe you have to do 2 to get through your listing presentation. That's up to you. But if you practice your skills and you get good enough at it, you should be able to do your listing presentation in 30 to 45 minutes and get it signed. So this may be the big change in our industry that we've been talking about for a long time. And it may be out of necessity that we have to go ahead and do these things. So some friends of mine who live in my neighborhood, Ryan Dietrich, who's a commercial realtor, and his wife, Brooke, who's an agent at Berkshire Hathaway, I think in Macungie. Ryan and Brooke are doing the homeschooling thing with their kids. And they've done kind of a neat thing because everybody's got to change the way they're doing things, right? So they are sharing on their Facebook page what they're doing with their kids for homeschool. And they have set up I think it's at 1:15 every afternoon, Mr. Dietrich has an art lesson. So all the neighborhood kids can go on and he does a Facebook Live with all the kids to do an art project. That's a different way of doing things, right? Because the kids can't go to school anymore. So Mr. Dietrich is teaching art instead of, listing $1 million properties. So we have to adapt. We have to do things differently and think about how we can change. Maybe this is something you could do in your neighborhood. If your neighborhood has a Facebook group, that if you have a topic you'd like to teach the kids, that maybe it's a good touch point for you to get out with your neighbors and help everybody take a different topic and team teach on Facebook Live or something. So just a different way to do things. So let's get back to scripts. A lot of people shy away from you. I don't want to sound that scripted. You hear all this all the time. I don't want to sound like I'm just reciting something. We've all been on the other end of that phone call that says, "Hi, I'm calling from blank, and I can make you #1 on Google. Okay, they're reading a script and doing it very poorly. They haven't rehearsed it. They haven't internalized it. They're just reading it from a piece of paper. Okay, they're awful. We don't want to sound like that. What we do want to do is be prepared for the fact that our clients, friends, neighbors, family, everyone we talk to has their own scripts, and they practice them. The first script that people learn as a 2-year-old is what? No. Okay, so they practice that a lot. What are the other scripts that our clients have? Let's see, we're not ready yet. Okay, that's a common script. How about this one? The other agent said she'd do it for less. The other agent said he would give me more money for my house. These are all the scripts that our clients are practicing, and they say them to us all the time. If we don't practice and aren't prepared for how to respond to that, we're not going to win. We're not going to get the business. And they're not going to win because they're not going to get an agent who's strong enough to fight for them and to get them the best deal on their house. They're going to settle for the agent who gave up 33% of their commission without a fight. So we need, for their sake, to get good at our scripts so we can help them, because we can't help them when we can't even help ourselves. So the first script you're going to learn is going to be a very simple one for these times. And the reason it's very simple, you might have to write this down. It's kind of long. Okay, let me just hit the button here. Oh, how are you? For what's going on right now, it's the simplest script and it's the most effective. If you don't call your database now, you are never going to call them. You're not selling anything. You're not trying to get more business. You can call anybody right now on the phone and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. How are you? You don't have to say it exactly like that. This is one of those scripts that you can ad lib a little bit. How have you been? Do you need anything? Call and just be a friend, be someone who cares. There's a saying that people won't do business with you, or they don't care what you know until they know what they know that you care. That's the script. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. So even if you haven't talked to a client in 7 or 8 years, this is the perfect time to call them and say, hey, how are you? Do you need anything? This can be a starting point for you to get back in the habit of keeping in touch with these people that you haven't talked to in a long time. You're not asking them for anything. You're calling because you care. And that's the key thing. It's never been an easier time to call. It's never been more straightforward and more, I don't know, kind of easy, I guess, to do it. Okay, so everybody practice this one with me. Are you ready? How are you? Now you try it. Very good. That was great, especially Mike Walters. I think you did very well with that one. I can't hear him, but I'm guessing because I know Mike really did it because he's a trooper. Okay, so let's look at the next script we have. This one is important to use anytime anybody shares any information with you. And I like this because you can use it just about anywhere at any time. It doesn't even have to be a real estate conversation. Tell me about that. In bold, I think the version of this is, why is that important to you? So I think this one's a little more conversational, at least for me. I like it better. It's, again, one of these really, you're going to have to take probably almost a whole line of your paper, your notebook to write this one down. Tell me about that. We need to understand what people's motivations are for why they do things or why they're going to make a decision. And they don't always share that with us up front. They're not always real straightforward about telling us their motives. Maybe they don't even realize it. They have a bias towards something, or they have a thought about something that they haven't expressed maybe even to themselves or their spouse. This is especially important when you get a couple together, that when you're sitting down with them and asking them, where do you want to live? And they say, well, we definitely don't want to live in, I don't know, Macungie, just to pick a place. We definitely don't want. Okay, tell me about that. Why? Okay, so that you can understand what it is that's important to them and why they're doing certain things. So tell me about that. That's script number 2. This is tricky, isn't it? It's really tough. These are tough scripts. Number 3. This one I like a lot. I got this one at family reunion probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I use this one a lot. People want to be reassured. They want to know that you've done this before and that they don't have to worry about it as much because they're freaking out about it, okay? So they're freaking out about, well, how do we buy a new house and sell ours? And how does this, how do we, but you have to move out before you move in and, okay? So it's a simple script. And the good news is I've helped a lot of people just like you who had to sell and buy before. Can you see how that would be reassuring to them? Can you see how that would put them at ease and make you, the expert? So this one's a little bit longer. And the good news is I've helped a lot of people just like you who ... Probably need a comma there between you and who, don't I? My grammarians. And the good news is I've helped a lot of people just like you who, whatever the situation is, who are using VA financing, who are moving in from out of state, who are downsizing into a smaller home. Whatever the situation, you've probably done it before, right? There's not a lot of things out there. If you've been in this, more than 6 or 8 weeks, you've probably seen it all. But that's the great script for it. And if you haven't been in the business that long, then we always tell you, leverage other people's expertise. And the good news is there's a lot of people that I rely on who've helped a lot of people just like you who, you've got resources in Keller Williams. You have other people that can help you. You have other people that you can lean on and go to and ask for advice. So we can help people who need help. They need our help, professional help. Let's give it to them. All right, that's number 3. And we're counting them down to number 1. And we're counting up to number 5, actually. When you think of real estate, who do you trust? So this is for your Met database calls. And this is going to be kind of outside of your how you doing calls, which we're going to make right now, right? Everybody, I want to challenge everybody on here to make at least 5 how are you doing calls today. Call 5 people, past clients, ask them how they're doing. Friends, whatever, people who are leads, prospects, okay? Do 5 today, do 5 tomorrow, do 5 every day. Call and ask them how they're doing. But after you've reestablished that relationship and you're talking to them, just a simple question when you're making your phone calls or when you see them. I have just an interesting question for you. When you think of real estate, who do you trust? Hopefully they say you. Be prepared for the fact that they might not, especially if you haven't kept in touch with them and you haven't been their, as Gary Keller likes to say, their local economist. So when you think of real estate, who do you trust? The follow-up question, if they don't say you, is or they say they don't know, is what do I have to do to earn that position? If I sent you some information monthly on the real estate market, on homes in your neighborhood or whatever you have to offer as your value proposition, would that help me to become the person that you trust when it comes to real estate? Because that's my goal, is whenever you have any questions at all about real estate, I want you to think of me. That's another script. It's the advanced version. I didn't write that one out, but I can write it out and send it out to you. Okay, that's my goal, is to become the person that when you need anything at all related to real estate, you think of me and you give me a call, because everybody needs to have a trusted resource. And I'm hoping that you'll think of me when you think of someone that you trust. Okay, that's number 4. Number 5. I thought I needed to have something in here to help us with our compensation. So number 5 on the list is something to help you get what you deserve when you go on a listing appointment. So a lot of times we go through the listing presentation and they start questioning the commission, or what I like to do, and try to teach others to do is you need to be the one to bring up the compensation, because the person who asks the questions controls the conversation, right? We all know that fact. If you're asking the questions, you're controlling the conversation. So if they ask you what the compensation is, now you have to be kind of not defensive, but you're on the spot. Okay. I'd rather bring it up on my terms. So when I'm doing my listing presentation, I'm telling them at some point that our fee for doing all of these things we've discussed is X. We can talk about commission because we're on a company call. There's nobody from other agents. So I say my commission is 6%. So you're controlling that part of the conversation. Now, if they object to the compensation, if they object to your commission fee, a simple script for that is, okay, that we can talk about that. But if we agree on compensation, you're ready to get started with me tonight, right? That way you've taken everything else off the table. If they say that, then all you have to do is get them to agree on the compensation and you've got a listing. So they can't come back and say, after you've agreed on the commission, well, we don't want to sign tonight because we really want to see what another agent has to say about the value of our house, or we think the house is worth more than this, or whatever. So the script for that is, so if we agree on compensation, you're ready to get started with me tonight. And that's number 5. Okay, so this isn't going to be an hour-long class. This is just about over. The idea was just that we would share 5 great scripts. And as I said at the beginning, this was going to be a classroom setting. And then I was going to ask everybody in the class to bring a script and share one. We don't have that opportunity, I don't think, unless we can open up the phones for the people who are on the call. But if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to share with anybody else as far as scripts goes. Let's see, I think I can come back out here now and look at the chat window. Mike Walters. Oh, you're welcome, Mike. So I can see the chat box now that I'm off of the other screen. Does anybody have any questions or anything else that they'd like to share?
If anybody wants to use their microphone to talk, you should have a toolbar at the bottom of your screen, and over on the far left, you can unmute yourself. So if you want to use your computer microphone to ask a question, go ahead.
Okay, Emily, what do you recommend when cold calling without sounding insensitive to the current situation? Okay, so if you're cold calling, I would probably, and you're talking about really cold people like that you've never met before. So this is real true cold calling. I would call, and my script would be, and I would write this out ahead of time, but here are just the thoughts off the top of my head that I've been trying to do with blog posts and Facebook posts and things like that is, I know you probably aren't sure what's going to happen in the real estate market right now with relation to the coronavirus and what's going on. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have about the real estate industry. We are still seeing buyers out there that want to look at houses because of interest rates being so low and because they need to buy a house. There's people that need to move. So there's opportunities in this market. It's still a seller's market. Now, some sellers may not want to show their house to strangers. So maybe you have to start doing some virtual showings and things like that. I would just, Emily, try to write up something that encompasses some of those thoughts as to, how the business has changed a little bit. Yes, real estate has changed a bit. And I'm sure you probably have some questions if you've been thinking about buying or selling. What can I help you with? So that would be an idea. Hopefully that's helpful. You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions or favorite ships they want to share with us? How do you tackle the commission question? So we on the part where I did the script on the commission. First of all, ask them if there's anything else that they have a problem with. Is there anything else that they'd like to discuss outside of the commission? If we agree on commission, can we get started tonight? And again, I try to tackle the question before they ask it. So I want to be the one to bring it up. So when I'm doing my listing presentation, I go over the marketing, I go over all the different things that we do, the different tasks that we have, and then I tell them what the fee is. And again, if they're asking the questions, they're in control of the conversation. So I want to be the one to bring it up before they ask. And you have to just tell them what the commission is. And I usually, my script for it is usually like, and you get all of this for just 6%. The commission's divided in half between the amount that the buyer's agent gets and the amount that I get. So our fee is 3% for what we do. And I recommend that you pay 3% to the other agent who's bringing the buyer for your home, because that gives them the most incentive to bring their buyer to see your home. So that's the way I tackle the commission question. And if they want to bargain on anything, it's not the 3% listing commission, it's the 3% buyer commission. If somebody wants to talk about that, I will show them the merits of 2.5 versus 2.75 versus 3. If they want to haggle over something, we can talk about the buyer commission. Sorry, buyer's agents, I'm at the listing appointment. This is a little controversial, I'm sorry. But the 3% for the listing is not negotiable. That's what we charge. And then just sit there and look at them like I'm looking at you right now. Okay? All right, glad that helped. Anything else people have questions about? All right, it looks like we're around 11:30, which I guess makes this a half hour. If anybody else has any questions, you can always call me, text me, email me. It's joe@debandjoe.com, 610-442-0150. And always glad to help, always glad to share. Everybody stay safe out there. Practice safe real estate. And anything else on our end, Sarah?
Nope, I don't think so. Thanks everybody for attending today. We did record this remote training, and we are going to be setting up a YouTube channel for the Market Center. So this will be posted within the next few days. So if you want to come back and watch it again, or let your fellow agents from the Market Center know what you got out of this training, and then they can watch it after the fact as well.
All right, and hopefully in the future we can do these things live and everybody can bring their favorite scripts too. All right, see everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great day.